Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Come watch TV. That's the kind of pep talk you'll only get from a cartoon teenager who just buried his own corpse in the backyard. And honestly, it might be one of the most comforting lines in the entire show, which says a lot about the show, because Rick and Morty is this bizarre paradox. It's a cartoon full of fart jokes, incest gags, and pickles with anger issues, and yet it's also one of the bleakest explorations of the universe's indifference to human life you will ever see. But here's the twist. It isn't just nihilism. Instead, the show slips in this weird, almost sneaky form of hope. Once you accept that nothing really matters, you're actually free to decide what does. That's what people call optimistic nihilism. It's like Rick says life is meaningless, and then Morty pipes up and says, cool, so pass the chips. So in this video, I want to dig into how Rick and Morty manages to laugh in the face of cosmic horror, while Rick himself is the worst nihilist ever, how Morty accidentally becomes the show's real philosopher, and why evil Morty might be the only one who actually takes the philosophy seriously. Because if nothing matters, then at least we can talk about cartoons on YouTube for 8 minutes. The first thing Rick and Morty beats into our brains is that the universe does not care. At all. Not even a little bit. Most sci-fi at least pretends we're special, that humanity matters because we built rockets or wrote Shakespeare or invented Pop-Tarts, but Rick and Morty goes, nah, you're just one of an infinite number of accident universes, and if you die, there are literally countless backups. Take Rick Potion number 9. Morty screws up a love potion, the entire planet mutates into Cronenberg monsters, and what does Rick do? He shrugs, opens a portal, and abandons their world. The family we follow from that point aren't even the real Rick and Morty. They're the ones who replaced a pair of corpses in the backyard. And I think that's one of the darkest jokes in the show. The casual way it treats identity as disposable. Or Ricksty Minutes. On the surface, it's just a dumb improv comedy with two brothers doing weird voices, but then it spirals into Morty comforting Summer by telling her she doesn't matter. And I think that's the genius of the show. It takes these absurd, lowbrow setups and slips in a gut punch about how meaningless our lives are. And yet, the characters don't stop living. They keep going. And I think that's the point. Meaningless isn't the end of the story. It's actually the starting point. So if the universe doesn't care, what do you do with all that information? Well, if you're Rick Sanchez, you turn it into a lifestyle brand. A very depressing lifestyle brand. Rick's whole vibe is, nothing matters, so I'm gonna drink, invent death machines, and emotionally cripple everyone around me. And I think that's why people find him weirdly relatable, because deep down, we all know someone who uses cynicism as armor. He just does it with a portal gun. Take Pickle Rick. On the surface, it's one of the funniest episodes, iconic even. Rick literally turns himself into a pickle to avoid family therapy, but dig under the laughs, and it's really about a guy who'd rather fight sewer rats and a Russian assassin than admit he has feelings. That's not philosophy. It's denial. And when he's stripped of distractions, like in autoerotic assimilation, the mask cracks. Unity leaves him, and Rick nearly ends it all in his garage, and I think that's the point. Rick's nihilism isn't liberating, it's devastating. He insists he doesn't care about anyone, but then why does he keep dragging Morty along? Aside from the whole shield thing. Why does he keep circling back to Beth and the family? I think on some level Rick cares desperately, he just can't admit it, because that would mean admitting he's not as detached as he pretends. If Rick takes nothing matters and uses it as an excuse to drink himself into oblivion, then Morty is the accidental philosopher who takes the exact same idea and somehow finds comfort in it. I think the best example is the Vat of Acid episode. Rick gives Morty a save game device, letting him rewind reality whenever something goes wrong. At first, Morty lives without consequence. He builds an entire life of meaning. But then Rick reveals the truth. Morty wasn't rewinding his whole life. He was erasing entire versions of himself. Every happy moment Morty thought was his was actually stolen from another Morty who got wiped out. It's brutal, it's bleak, but here's the thing. Even after that, he carries on. He doesn't collapse into nihilism the way Rick would. Morty still chooses to live his messy, painful, awkward little life, even knowing how fragile and disposable it is. And I think that's the whole point. Resilience doesn't come from believing life has inherent meaning, it comes from deciding you're going to live anyway. That's what people call optimistic nihilism. Now, if regular Morty is the hopeful side of nihilism, then evil Morty is the nightmare version. He takes the same cosmic indifference and says, fine, then burn the whole system down. What makes evil Morty fascinating is that he isn't evil in the cartoon villain sense. He doesn't want to rule the Citadel, although he does for a period. He doesn't want to conquer universes. His ultimate plan is basically escape. Break out of the infinite loop where Ricks are always on top, Mortys are always on the bottom, and nothing ever changes. And the chilling part is he is not wrong. The multiverse is a prison of repetition. The Citadel of Ricks is a factory that justifies Rick's ego by grinding Mortys into disposable sidekicks. Evil Morty sees the structure for what it is and decides the only real freedom is to reject it completely. In that way, he's the purest nihilist in the show. Rick uses nihilism to mask pain, Morty uses it to keep moving forward. But evil Morty? He takes it seriously. If nothing matters, then morality, loyalty, even family, none of it counts. Tear it down, step through the portal, and don't look back. And I think that's why his final shot, drifting into the golden void beyond the central finite curve, hits so hard. It's not a triumph, not even a tragedy. It's freedom, cold, lonely, and absolute. Here's the thing. Rick and Morty doesn't just talk about nihilism, it builds it into the way the show works. Take A Wrinkle in Time. The family's indecision literally fractures the timeline, splitting reality into 2, then 4, then more. By the end, everything just snaps back into place like none of it happened. But the joke is, we still cared the whole time. And that's the sneaky proof of optimistic nihilism. Meaning isn't handed down by the universe, or the writers, or the multiverse. Meaning is something we can't help but create as human beings. Even in the cartoon that constantly tells us it doesn't matter, we make it matter by caring. And the characters do the same. Summer and Morty comfort each other in the darkest moments. Jerry, in all his bumbling, manages to stumble into this weird, naive optimism. And I think that's the joke. In a meaningless universe, Jerry might actually be the happiest of them all. The show is brutal, absurd, often very disgusting, but hidden beneath is this stubborn little heartbeat of hope. It's not the kind of hope you get from Destiny or Grand Design. It's the smaller kind, the kind you make yourself. So yeah, Rick and Morty is this show about fart jokes, giant incest babies, and a guy who once turned himself into a pickle to dodge therapy. But it's also one of the clearest explorations of nihilism I think we've ever had on TV. And I think that's the weirdly comforting thing. If the universe doesn't care, that's fine, because it means we get to. So maybe Morty had it right all along when he said, "Oh geez, nobody exists on purpose. Oh man, oh nobody belongs anywhere. Oh geez, everyone's gonna die." And yeah, sure, that's bleak. But it also means you're free to care about whatever you want. Even if that's just a cartoon about a drunk old man and his anxious grandson. Because if nothing matters, then this video also doesn't matter. But you watched it anyway, and I think that's kind of beautiful. My new book, Tao Solandis, is now available for pre-order. Links in the description because, well, of course it is. It's set at the end of time where an ancient AI guards the final stories of the universe. These are 6 interconnected tales of sci-fi with heart, brains, and just a sprinkle of existential dread. So if that sounds like your thing, grab a copy now before the heat death of the universe kills us all.